Hello, good afternoon all. This is Altamash. I'm from Sphere India. So we will wait for a couple of minutes. We are awaiting other speakers and participants to also join. So post them, we can start. Hi Fatima, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Hi Komal. Hi Dr. Roni.
Hi, Altamash.
Hi, good afternoon.
How are you all?
Very well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, doing well. Thank you for joining this. Good, Simran. If all the speakers have joined, can we begin the session now?
No, so Melissa is not.
Yes, Professor Gupta will be joining in 5 minutes. And
Okay. All right. So meanwhile, we can have a brief round of introduction from the participants also. I can
yes,
see people have joined from different geographies. So Bendrucha ji, hope you are doing well. I think you are there in Ranchi. Komal, how are you doing? Hope the situation is better now in Bihar.
Hi, Altamash. Yeah, it's getting better.
So you are sitting at the hem of affairs, ACOC.
Yeah. I didn't receive your email. I was expecting it.
Yeah, so I can see Professor Anand have also joined. So I saw that the government has also decided to respond with the fast transfers, and the Bihar IG is also doing well. So in that case, I think let the good works continue there. Hi, sir. Good afternoon.
Very good afternoon. How are you?
Doing well, sir. Thank you. And congratulations also to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I think we can begin the session now, Fatima.
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dinesh. Very good afternoon. Sphere India, in collaboration with ICARS, Roorkee, is organizing a workshop. I, Fatima Amin, project scientist at ICARS, welcome you to the Emergency Preparedness Workshop on Cold Wave Preparedness in India. As we know, cold wave preparedness is becoming increasingly critical in India as the frequency and intensity of cold waves have risen in recent years. These extreme events disproportionately affect vulnerable populations, including the elderly, children, and those living in rural and economically disadvantaged areas. The emergency preparedness workshop focus on strategies and best practices to mitigate the impact of cold waves around across the country. Experts from diverse fields will discuss emergency responses, planning, climate monitoring, and the community level resilience to ensure preparedness and safety during extreme cold weather events. To start this event, I'd like to uh, have a I guess a welcome note has been done by Alchemist sir. So to go with the agenda, I'd like to invite Professor Gupta for his keynote address, and before that, I'd like to give a brief about Professor Gupta. So, Professor Anil Kumar Gupta is a full-time professor, DRR Adaptation and Sustainability, Executive Lead at Kipris, Convener Address at ICARS IIT Roorkee. Formerly, Professor Gupta was had ECDRM division in IDM, and he was working at Institute of Environment and Development Studies, Bundelkhand University, Jhansi, since 2003. He joined NIDM in 2006 and was a full-time professor till 2024, disaster mitigation and crisis management professional, postdoctorate from CIRI NIRI. CSIR NIRI. He possesses interdisciplinary expertise with institutional development, administration, and management. Coordinated several international, national projects over more than 100 publications, including 10 books and 45 papers. He have guided several PhD research scholars. His special contribution were in the preparation of National Disaster Management Plan. He is having more than disaster management, and not just one NDMB. We are having several other plans too. He's having perspective plan for NIDM strengthening strategy on climate change, NAP, and on chemical disasters international. Recently, he was looking into the project called HICAP that was with the Minister of Road Transport and Highways. Over to you, sir, for your keynote address.
Very good afternoon. And as usual, the Sphere India Academy has taken this initiative very, very timely. So my compliments to all the people who have thought that even before or just at the beginning of the onset of the cold period in India, we should start talking about this tragedy which is faced in various parts of the country but in different level of impacts. So it is also important that how do we really understand the cold wave. One is that is scientific understanding, and scientific understanding there are often uh, early warning by the India Meteorological Department. And besides that, we also have a traditional understanding of the seasonality. But the traditional understanding, as we often say, that now in the wake of climate change, the past is no longer a key to the future. So this I would reiterate here also that if past 5 years they were not severe cold wave issues in particular place, we should not consider that this year it is not possible. And this is one of the important the implications of climate change, that it has brought a greater level of uncertainty. Many times what happens that we face a winter which is a kind of a hot winter or warm winter, and there's not much cold even in the nights. But even few weeks time, or sometimes the entire the cold season has passed away, and just before the end of the cold season there are certain very, very heavy cold days. So this is one thing that the climate change has brought up a greater level of uncertainty. Second thing, talking about the cold wave is not only about the cold season or the temperature to what extent it goes down, but the peaks, the downward peaks of temperature. Many times what happens that few days the temperature is quite comfortable, and all of a sudden after 3 days the temperature dips very, very seriously. And then in that cases the preparedness is very low, because people are thinking that past few days it's very comfortable, not very cold, and people may go out for some various other purposes. This is about the people who have the organized facilities with them and their exposure. But there are people who do not have this kind of organized facilities. uh, like many other countries, India also faces the challenges of the homeless people because of various reasons. Maybe the temporarily homelessness or a permanent kind of homelessness. And even they have the shelters, there are chances that when the temperature goes very low, their shelters are not designed, or centered shelters are not having those kind of capacities to protect them from that downward trends in the temperature. So this is very important. Temperature, if goes down in the areas where usually it goes down, there is some kind of a general preparedness in the minds of the people. But if the temperature goes down in the places where temperature usually does not go down much, then another kind of challenge is there, that people never think that this kind of challenges may occur. Delhi is one of such kind of place, Delhi, NCR region and nearby areas, that few years we face some kind of cold wave situations, and some year we do not face cold wave situations. Sometimes we face cold wave situations in early months, like in the month of December and January. Sometimes we face the cold wave episodes, not in the earlier months, but in the later period, for example, in February and March. So trends are breaking, and that is bringing even more complex challenges. So at present, even if we are not clear that what kind of cold wave situations we are going to face in our locality, or if we are commuting or traveling to some places, or we are in different kind of occupations, whether I'm a taxi driver, whether I'm a roadside vendor, what kind of service I'm into, or I'm in social service, or I'm in any kind of vegetable seller or whatever. First thing, and the first most important thing is the they're thinking about this kind of risk. So preparing a mental, I think, awareness, I think that's very important, and COVID Academy is doing this wonderful job with support of various organizations. Uh, this Sphere Academy is a group of organizations. So my compliments and congratulations to all the agencies and all the experts who are going to share their views and who are making this kind of initiatives successful. I would also like to refer about the two major disruptions our society is undergoing. One is disruptive technology, and second is disruptive social change. So many times, while the disruptive technology is helping that we remain at home and we can get our works done, the disruptive social change disconnects us from the society. And when I talk about the society, the people who are widely exposed and highly exposed to these kind of cold wave episodes, like street vendors, like homeless people, and within them, within the homeless people, the beggar community, or the communities within communities, the children, the women, and the ailing people and elderly people, their sensitivities become higher, and in case of exposure, the chances of their morbidity and even sometimes mortality becomes a serious issue. One important dimension is that there are not large scale deaths at same time at same place, but we combine the challenges across the country, the areas facing the cold wave conditions, the numbers of affected people become significant. And that is the reason some states, Himachal, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, and many other states also, Jammu and Kashmir, they had recognized this issue very, very seriously. And over the past 20 years or so, even the preparedness and response has also grown. But we need to bring the peoples in the mainstream, people's initiative, so that they understand the risk, they prepare and their own level, because a person or family himself or the family itself is the first responder, and society being the first responder, it is the important dimension that we need to prepare them. What kind of occupations are there, how they can understand their positions or their situations during a cold days, what kind of easy means, cost effective means, I think that is also important. Are there traditional wisdom possible, and we can scale up? Yes, there are several traditional means, starting from the food habits, that how do we adapt to a new food habits, but it has to be cost effective. That's important. The people who are such sensitive people, are people who get exposed to this kind of cold waves, are not always having much higher capacities or much capacities in terms of economic and other resources. Then cold wave is affecting people directly who are getting exposed, but cold wave is affecting in several ways our economic and the developmental settings also. When cold wave times are there, markets are bound to shut down at the earliest, because when people are outside, they feel discomfort, particularly in hill areas or some areas of Uttar Pradesh and other states also. Many times the cold wave conditions are also followed up with fog conditions, and in some places the smog conditions also. And when the things combine, the challenge become even more complex. So how do we anticipate various combinations, and then we also combine our preparedness for fog, for cold wave, and for various other dimensions. Even cold wave and fog conditions also lead to some kind of accidents risk also. So how do we look at the safety risk during those periods? And the finally, I would say that the preparing for cold wave is not actually a mega disaster thing, but more of a humanitarian preparedness at large scale for all the areas which are affected by this thing. So starting from looking at the kind of clothing, looking at the food, looking at the shelter, looking at the easier health facilities. If some people are getting affected, the first responses and medical aids, how do we think at local level, and the sectoral coordination guidelines which have been developed by Spear India jointly with our team. I think we need to look at those also, because a very good insights have come through a consultative process, that how do we bring the multiple dimensions of preparedness at local level, at village level, at mohalla level. And I think that's very important. So this is a very important humanitarian cause, and once again I compliment all for taking this important initiative, and looking forward to the very important discussion which will start bringing some kind of a trigger in our minds and minds of the people, so that they start thinking that what need to be done in advance. So thank you, and over to you, the moderator of the day, Ms. Fatima. And again, I'll see Dr. Rohini. So a wonderful team of discussants is here, panelists are there, and excellent number of participants are here. So looking forward to the very important discussion. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for having your expertise in this area, and you talking about change in climate trends and how it impacts the whole country, and how lack of preparedness can arise when people become complicated due to unfavorable conditions. And this can be particularly dangerous for those without organization facilities, and that might be more vulnerable to the certain change and challenge. I'm really thankful to you for your insights and expertise. Thank you so much. Now, moving our agenda forward, I'd like to introduce my next speaker, Dr. Raju. Sir, so Dr. Raju sir has over 15 years of experience in atmospheric sciences, beginning as a junior research fellow at Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology in 2009. He progressed to Senior Research Fellow and Research Associate at IITM, conducting advanced studies in tropical meteorological and climatic models. From 2015 to 2019, he worked as a postdoctoral researcher at King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, Saudi Arabia, where he focused on atmospheric modeling and climate change. Since 2019, he has been an assistant professor at IISER Mohali, where he continues to lead research and teach in earth and environmental sciences. I welcome you, sir, on board, and we are really excited for your expertise and your discussion ahead. Thank you. Is he here?
Yes, thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fatima, okay. Thank you, Fatima, for the nice introduction. So let me share the presentation. Is it audible? I mean, visible? Yes, sir. Great. Okay. So is it time is 10 minutes, right? Yeah. Okay. Great. So I was given this topic, the basics of cold waves. So I briefly discussed about the cold waves and how cold waves can be declared and what are the types of impacts. And finally, I will show the types of distinct flavors of the cold waves and then associated physical process in a simple language. Okay, so what is cold wave? Cold wave is a meteorological event, generally characterized by a sharp drop of air temperature to extremely low values near the surface. In addition to that, a steep rise in the mean sea level pressure and also higher wind speed, which adds the chillness to the environmental conditions. This cold wave is I mean, relatively recently announced as extreme weather condition compared to other extreme weather. So this extreme weather event is basically driven by the synoptic scale processes, especially western disturbances, which actually comes a lot of dry and cold air from the higher latitudes, from the west towards the eastern side. So it can bring a lot of dry cold winds from the northern regions to the subcontinent, and it affects the entire North India. So typically you see these cold waves between the November to February months, but mostly pronounced in January and end of the December. India is second in the top 10 countries with the highest expected annual affected populations by these cold waves. Although we give the little attention relative to the heat waves, but it has a significant impacts on various sectors. So if you look into the figures in this slide, India experiences various types of extreme weather conditions across the country. But if you consider the cold wave, this part, and half of the deaths, these are the deaths numbers, half of the deaths mostly confined in the northern India, and 1/3 of the quarter is mostly in the eastern India. So yeah, so this is the impact from the cold waves, especially all the northern states. The impacts of the cold waves is not just only limited to the health, I mean, humans, but also it has huge impacts on the various sectors. For instance, agriculture. So Rabi crops like wheat, oats, and all, barley and all, it's quite prominent during the winter times in the northern states. These cold waves can significantly affect the growth of the crops. And in addition to that, livestock and also fisheries, transportation. And being a cold conditions, human beings mostly use the different, different ways to warm their room temperatures. So therefore, the outage or the consumption of energy is too high. So it can also affect the energy consumption and also water, tourism, and moreover the small street vendors where they live their daily life on the street vendor business. If you look into this map, this is from the IMD disastrous weather events. These are the number of cold waves for last 40 to almost 50 to 60 years of data set. And if you could look into this band, and most of the northern states experiences about more than 230 cold wave days in a given time period. In addition to that, central India, even though it is less than 50, but still into central India also receives the experiences these cold wave conditions. And then associated deaths across the time period from starting from 1981 to 2020, you can clearly see that the deaths due to cold waves across the India is so quite a significant high numbers. And there are the years, for instance, if you look into this 2003, this cold wave spell, in fact, it is not only just severity, but the duration of the cold wave spell is quite longer. It swept across the northern states and at time to be deaths more than 900 human lives. So coming to the mortality rates across the Indian states, you can see the rank wise, and northern, again, I just wanted to emphasize that northern states ranked in the first top 10 in terms of their mortalities as cold wave related mortalities. And if you look into the Bihar is the standing top in the given time period between 1978 to 2014. It's almost 3710 mortalities. In addition to that, Uttar Pradesh and Jharkhand. So these are the states where the underprivileged communities, what we can say, are socio-economically weaker people. They experience to these cold wave conditions a lot because of the less facilities or whatever. So then obviously, it affects a lot for them to exposure to these cold wave conditions. Okay, so how can we identify these cold wave conditions? So IMD has given quite a different types of definitions in addition to general R&D. So when the minimum temperature of a given station at 10 degrees centigrade or less for the plains, if it is 0 degrees or less for the hilly stations. But this is the absolute numbers. But if you take the departures, if the departure is about minus 4.5 degrees centigrade to minus 6.4 degree centigrade from the normal conditions, it can be declared as a cold wave condition. If it is more than minus 6.4 degrees centigrade drop from the normal climatology, this can be then it can be declared as a severe cold wave. For the plain stations, if you consider the actual minimum temperature, the drop, less than 4 degree centigrade, it can be a cold wave, or less than or equal to 2 degrees centigrade can be a severe cold wave conditions. But in the case of coastal stations, the definition is quite different. Here departure of the minimum temperature should be about 4.5 degrees centigrade or less, or the minimum temperature should be 15 degrees centigrade or less. Then it can be declared as a cold wave conditions. In addition to these definitions, generally one can take the long-term data and then normalize it, create anomalies and they normalize it, and then if it is less than 1 standard deviation below from the normal conditions can also be considered as a cold wave conditions. If it is more than 2 degrees centigrade drop from the 1 standard deviation, then it can be considered as also severe cold wave. So there are the different ways of declaring the cold waves, but according to IMD, these are the 3 best definitions. Depends upon the place. Okay, so this is how the climatology looks like. If you take the minimum temperature and then plot it for the long-term, almost 40 years of data, you can see the grip of the cold temperatures can be seen the entire northern India. So, and then standard deviation, it gives the variability in the minimum temperature, and this part highlighted, outlined with the magenta line, can tell you the maximum variations in the minimum temperature. So this zone is typically known as cold wave core zone. And if you take all the, I mean, using this region, and you can identify all the cold waves, depends upon the definition I've given in the previous slide. And then if you consider all the cold wave days and then put it up and then plot over India, this is how they look like. So the maximum drop you can clearly see in this band, including Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and all these states. And then these cold wave the wave events are also vary across the I mean, especially, for instance, central to northeast is you can expect almost 39% of the cold waves during the winter, and for the northwest is about 37 percentage. For other regions, you can see relatively less number. Peninsula lies somewhere 0.2%. So one should focus mostly on the cold wave core zone, which is mostly between the central northeast and some central and also northwest India. See how the winds during these cold waves can be seen. If you this is the wind patterns anomalies. You see the lot of winds are coming from the northern, northern regions towards the cold wave core region. So these winds can advect cold temperatures from the from higher latitudes, and then they affect the people in this region. Okay, coming to these trends, although it's quite expected that the climate change can affect the trends in the cold waves, but in coming to the frequency, duration, and the intensity in the cold wave core zone, so all of these characteristics, frequency, duration, intensity, is very clear that they are decreasing with that time because of the various regions, in addition to the climate change, and there are the western disturbances, which are the guide, I mean, wave guides for these cold waves in this region. They are decreasing over the time. Therefore, the trends in the cold waves also reflected the same. Okay, so in our study recently we published in Weather and Climate Extremes, what we have done is that we have identified two different types of cold waves based on their intensity, simple normal cold waves, as well as the intensified cold wave conditions. So normal cold waves are mostly associated with the western disturbances, which is known. But in coming to the intense cold waves are something related to atmospheric dynamics, which are connected all the way from higher latitude regions to the Indian subcontinent. There is something called omega. This is omega symbol, omega atmospheric blocking, somewhere in the Oral region. So this is actually induces, or expedite strong winds coming from the northern higher latitudes to the study region. So this atmospheric blocking is very important, triggering mechanism for this intense cold wave conditions. For example, if you can see this circulation pattern, and this is how it looks like. So in a while, sometimes you can see the omega type of atmospheric conditions which can persist, which can induce not just cold wave, but also the persistence of these cold waves can be expected. For example, recently in 2024, January, we have almost 32 days of the cold waves, I mean, especially in the northern states. So this is again because of this atmospheric blocking. So these cold wave conditions are also connected to the well-known climate drivers, that is El Nino and La Nina. La Nina can also induce cold waves, and El Nino also can induce cold waves. And if you look into the frequency and duration of this duration during the El Nino and La Nina, so the La Nina is mostly contributing more number of frequencies in the cold wave conditions compared to El Nino. And also duration, if you look into the duration, and 46.2% the duration is actually coming from the La Nina conditions. And La Nina can basically, it can induce the atmospheric wind anomalies in the upper atmosphere, and then the sink or descend over the Indian region, and then it can cause for these extreme cold wave conditions. So this is a typical schematics of these different types of flavors, different types of flavors of the cold wave conditions. normal conditions, as I said, the western disturbance, which actually comes from the west to east, whereas the intense cold wave conditions, they are something related to the atmospheric blocking. So predicting these distinct flavors of the cold waves is very, very important. I think the next speaker, colleague Srijit can talk about the prediction, how IMD is taking care of these predictions. I hope I mean, this predicting these different types of cold wave conditions are very important and important for the well planning. Okay, so the cold temperatures can also induce stress. I see Dr. Rohini is around. Probably she will talk about more in terms of health aspects. But if you look into the climatological cold stress conditions, mostly evening and night and morning hours, actually these cold wave conditions induce a lot of cold stress, which can cause health implications, especially for the kids and elderly people. So, I mean, these are the some media coverages which we have published recently on this topic, and then media covered a lot of things on this study, and the link is available. The study is already available in our group web page. Somebody can refer to that. With this, I thank. I'm happy to take questions if you have any.
Thank you so much, sir. So before we can take any further questions, are we supposed to take some questions, Dr. Altamash? Like how many questions we can take? If you are having any questions, please let me know. And if it's like if you want to ask sir individually, so I guess sir can share his mail ID so that you can share the questions directly to him. So thank you, Raju sir. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for sharing the basics of cold wave and all definitions to criteria of for cold wave, and how regional variations in cold wave show with some different intensities and how it impacts the vulnerable populations. And you were just showing some of the global and historical trends of cold wave. Thank you so much. Now moving forward to the agenda, I'd
Thank
like to
you.
invite
Thank you.
Dr. Shrijit sir, who will be going to give his presentation on role of IMD. Before that, I'd like to introduce her. Dr. Srijit sir is the scientist and head of the Climate Monitoring and Prediction Group at the Climate Research and Services Division of IMD in Pune, Maharashtra, India. With over 21 years of experience at IMD, he has held various significant roles, including his current position since January 2019. He has also served as scientist in the Climate Research and Service since August 2016 and is a director of meteorological operations. Earlier, he worked as meteorologist at the National Climate Service in IMD Pune, where he was involved in the development of a dynamic seasonal prediction system. Dr. Srijit has a strong background in climate research and holds a degree from Cochin University of Science and Technology. I welcome you, sir, to this workshop. The floor is all yours.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for nice introduction. I'll share my screen. Hope you can see my screen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, thank you. Good afternoon to all. First of all, I would like to thank for organizer to give opportunity for this presentation. Actually, I'm going to most of my slide already Raju covered that that definition and other aspect of cold wave. But I will talk about that what are the predictions available in IMD. First of all, I'm not going to this. This is the outline of the talk, but I'm not changing much in the criteria. First of all, we would like to look at why that what is the temperature trend in the winter season and annual minimum temperature also can see there is an increasing trend with the 100 since 1901. We can see that there is a 0.32 degrees Celsius per year per 100 years in the winter season minimum temperature. And if you consider that annual minimum temperature, the trend is little more. But because of this climate increase in temperature, that the one reason for there is the recent trend of the cold wave also is reduced. Already Raju has explained that this cold wave criteria. And you can see that because of you can cold wave days, you can see mainly that core monsoon, core cold wave zone, and severe cold wave also affecting only in a limited region. And if you can see that trend for that for the many 1971 onwards, if you see the trends, can see that most of the arrows are in blue color and a downward trend. That means decreasing, significantly decreasing trend in the cold wave. But however, there are some pockets you can see there are increasing, significantly increasing trend also you can observe. And now the effect of La Nina already Raju explained, but you can see that during El Nino years that cold waves are very days are very less, and that same time La Nina years, that is the cold cold wave days are more. However, if you see that last that a few years back, you can see that triple dip, 3 continuous years La Nina was there, but that cold wave incidence was very less because of this global warming and already rising temperature in the global warming. And if you see that trend, you can see that that is during El Nino years, that is very less. And La Nina years, it is, you can see more even. But if you consider the other years, you can see that nowadays it is very less, that cold wave number of days are very less. And similarly, you can see that number of station in that cold core zone. You can see that number of stations also varying because of during this various La Nina and El Nino years. And as Raju already mentioned that this death due to that cold waves, also nowadays it is very, recent decade it is very less as compared to previous decades. And the Climate Research and Services, IMD Pune, has developed a climate hazard and vulnerability atlas for 13 disaster weather, significant weather events that affecting our day-to-day life. Is we can get the vulnerability atlas of these events. And now coming into that the forecast of various monthly, seasonal, and day-to-day and extended range forecast. IMD is using a numerical weather prediction model and climate models mainly for the generating these outlooks. And for example, that recently we have every month we are issuing that rainfall and temperature outlook, probability outlook for the region. You can see that for the next month, this month, October, you can see that maximum temperature there is the central Indian region. There is a chance for the below normal to normal temperature. But if you see that maximum temperature, you can see most of the region it is showing that the maximum likelihood of above normal minimum temperature over most part of the country. We are issuing that outlook, but of seasonal outlook for temperature since 2019, and last 2 years we are issuing that outlook for the cold wave of duration for the season. That also monthly also we are issuing this based on climate model, various climate model with multi-model ensemble techniques. And this is for last year. These are the models we are considering for the preparation of the seasonal and monthly outlook. And this is for some examples, some climate model output. We can get that the number of bias corrected output we are using for generating the heat wave and cold wave outlook. We are in the climate change scenario. There is a chance for the mean and variability both are changing. So we are getting more extremes. That is both cold wave and heat wave extremes are getting during the coming the next century. We can get actually more heat wave and cold wave. And for even though criteria already we have defined for the station level data, but for generating that outlook and all, we are using percentile based threshold. And there are some threshold value also we are keeping for the coastal region and other region. Those regions that are not usually getting cold wave. So in the cold wave, we are designing 10 percentile of the daily climatological value, and the threshold value is 15 degrees C. And there are IMD is using all geospatial technology also for disseminating various forecast and outlook information. That you can in geospatial services you can see heat wave and cold wave that link up the that you will get that the day-to-day monitoring of cold wave as well as the day-to-day forecast also for short and medium range forecast and extended range forecast also. In addition to that seasonal prediction that we can use for the preparedness and the extended range also, we can use our various activities we can fine tune with extended range prediction. That means that weekly to monthly up to 1 month prediction, and day-to-day forecast we can utilize for various other activities for preparedness of cold wave. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your presentation. And role of IMD, what kind of role IMD is doing right now, and how during the extreme events it's doing the from forecasting and giving some of the models, and how technology is giving some of the accurate information about the weather and all details. Thank you so much. So if you are having any questions for Dr. Shajit sir, you can just ask, or you can just ask in a chat box, whatever you are comfortable.
Okay, I'll answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now moving forward, that is by Dr. Sri Rajan Kumar Sharma sir. Before that, I'd like to give a brief about Dr. Rajan Kumar Sharma. He's an Your experience in disaster management industrial COVID-19 pandemic award in 2020 to 21 for his exceptional services. Rajan sir has been a part of more than 700 national and international webinars. His experience extends to organizing and conducting mock drills and workshops for capacity building. In 2024, Rajan represented India at the World Youth Festival in Sochi, Russia, engaging in global discussions on disaster management and climate change. He has been involved in high profile rescue operations, earning recognition from the US Embassy in the New Delhi for rescuing two US nationals at Churdar Peak in Sirmaur. Rajan has played an instrumental role in managing communication and coordination for disaster response as well as acting as a public relation officer for the district disaster management authority in Sirma. I welcome you on board, sir. We are looking very forward for your presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Can you speak in? Can I speak in Hindi language? Is that okay?
Yes, definitely. I guess that will be
Okay.
fine.
ओके ओके थैंक यू सो मच मैम। जैसा कि आपने मैम ब्रीफ इंट्रोडक्शन किया कि जैसे कि सिरमौर ज़िला जो एक हिमाचल प्रदेश का एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट है और डिफरेंट डिफरेंट जो है वो यहाँ पे तरह तरह की आपदाएं जो है वो आती रहती हैं और इसी के अनुरूप जो हमारा हिमाचल प्रदेश राज्य आपदा प्रबंधन प्राधिकरण है शिमला में उसने जो अपने 17 जो डिफाइंड स्टेट वाइड जो डिजास्टर जो है डिक्लेयर किए हैं उसमें हीट वेव को भी मतलब अपने कोल्ड वेव को भी रखा है लेकिन एक्चुअली यहाँ पे उतना कोल्ड वेव चलता नहीं है। यहाँ पे बेसिकली जो स्नो से रिलेटेड जो ठंड रहती है उसका ज़्यादा प्रभाव रहता है। लेकिन कुछ एक हमारे 2-3 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हैं जहाँ पे कोल्ड वेव को देखा जाता है जो एक एक प्लेन रीजन्स में आते हैं। जैसे हमारा उन्ना का रीजन हो गया शिवालिक के कुछ एक पार्ट्स हो गए लोअर पार्ट्स तो वहाँ पे ज़्यादा जो है वो कोल्ड वेव देखने को मिलता है लेकिन एज ए डिस्ट्रिक्ट और एज ए स्टेट किस तरह की तैयारियां रहती हैं हमारी यहाँ पे उसके बारे में मैं थोड़ी सी चर्चा करूँगा इसके रिगार्डिंग। तो मैम जो हमारा एक्चुअली हिमाचल प्रदेश में ज़्यादा स्नोई रीजन रहता है मैक्सिमम मोस्ट पार्ट पे आ, उसका जो मैनेजमेंट है वो अलग तरह का है लेकिन जो हमारा कोल्ड वेव रीजन्स होते हैं उसका मैनेजमेंट कुछ अलग पार्ट का रहता है अलग तरह का रहता है। और उसमें जो है वो हमारी एक कोल्ड वेव जो एक गाइडलाइन बनी होती है उसके अनुसार जो है एनडीएमए ने भी उसको जारी करा है उसको ही फॉलोअप किया जाता है फर्दर। उसके लिए सर मैम जैसे कि अभी रिसेंटली चर्चा हमारे जो प्रीवियस स्पीकर से वो बात कर रहे थे ला नीना की इस बार जो है वो आईएमडी ने प्रोडिक्शन करा है अभी रिसेंटली सितंबर महीने में कि ला नीना का इफेक्ट जो है वो ज़्यादातर हमारे इंडिया में देखने को मिलेगा। और जो हिमाचल प्रदेश जम्मू कश्मीर और उत्तराखंड का जो पार्ट है वहाँ पे मैक्सिमम जो टेम्परेचर है वो 3 डिग्री तक जाने की भी इसमें प्रोडिक्शन जो है आईएमडी ने करी हुई है कि इतना जा सकता है इस बार। और ज़्यादा जो है हमें इस बार प्रिपेयर्ड रहना पड़ेगा इसके लिए प्लानिंग करनी पड़ेगी इसके लिए। अगर मैं हिमाचल प्रदेश की बात करूं तो डेफिनेटली यहाँ पे ऑलरेडी प्रिपेयर्ड जो है वो गवर्नमेंट ने सारा का सारा जो है वो अथॉरिटीज जो है वो प्रिपेयर्ड हैं। इसके लिए मैं बता दूं कि डिफरेंट तरह के जो हमारी अवेयरनेस प्रोग्राम्स रहते हैं फील्ड में उसको कंडक्ट किया जा रहा है थ्रू आईईसी मटेरियल थ्रू रेडियो थ्रू टेलीविजन। और लोगों को अवेयर किया जा रहा है कि आप जो ये आने वाला जो हमारा अभी स्नो का सीजन है विंटर सीजन है इसमें प्रिपेयर्ड रहें। मैक्सिमम जो है वो आईएमडी के जो फोरकास्टिंग होती है उसके ऊपर जो है वो नज़र बना के रखें और उसके अनुसार ही अपना जो उनका प्लान होता है विजिटिंग का प्लान है ट्रैवलिंग का प्लान है या कहीं जाने का प्लान है उसके अनुसार ही वो उस चीज़ को प्लान करें। इसके लिए टाइम टू टाइम जो है वो अवेयरनेस प्रोग्राम्स जो है वो धरातल पर जो है वो पर्टिकुलरली कंडक्ट किए जा रहे हैं अभी। और इसके अलावा हमारा जो एक कोल्ड वेव एडवाइजरी होती है कोल्ड वेव एडवाइजरी भी थ्रू डिस्ट्रिक्ट डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट अथॉरिटीज़ जो काम कर रही हैं स्टेट में उनके थ्रू भी हमने जो है वो सभी को अलर्ट पे रखा हुआ है इस चीज़ के लिए। दूसरी बात मैम कि हमारे यहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट जो है वो जैसे हमारे कुछ एक जो लोग बाहर सोते हैं जो सड़कों पे सो रहे हैं या कहीं पे और जगह पे जिनके लिए आश्रय नहीं है उसके लिए गवर्नमेंट ने जो है ऑलरेडी एक सुखाश्रय योजना यहाँ पे लॉन्च की है जिससे कि ऐसे ऐसे शेल्टर्स बनाए जा रहे हैं हर एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स में जहाँ पे इस तरह के जो व्यक्ति हैं उनको वहाँ पे शेल्टर दिया जाए, और आने वाले टाइम में जैसे किसी की डेथ ना हो, किसी को ज़्यादा इंजरीज या कोई प्रॉब्लम ना रहे, तो इसके लिए उस पर काम किया जा रहा है। इसके अलावा मैम हमारे यहाँ पे एक्चुअली जो आवारा पशु होते हैं हमारे, वो मैक्सिमम सड़कों पे ज़्यादा मतलब छोड़ दिए गए हैं। तो उनके लिए भी इस तरह की जो कुछ शेल्टर्स हैं, एनिमल शेल्टर्स हैं, वो रेडी किए जा रहे हैं कुछ डिपार्टमेंट्स के साथ, इसके साथ बातचीत चल रही है, ताकि उन लोगों को, यानी कि हमारा जो एनिमल सेक्टर है वहाँ पे भी कोई प्रॉब्लम ना रहे किसी को, क्योंकि यहाँ पे हराश क्लाइमेट होगा, लोअर में भी होता है, लेकिन ज़्यादा हिली एरिया में जहाँ पे बर्फ गिरता है, स्नोफॉल होता है, वहाँ पे ये ज़्यादा चीज़ें देखने को मिलती है विंटर से रिगार्डिंग। और स्नोफॉल होता है हमारे हिमाचल में, वो बेसिकल जो हमारे बागवान होते हैं उनके लिए तो ये बेस्ट चीज़ होती है। जो बागवान रहते हैं हमारे, उनके लिए एप्पल की जो प्रोडक्शन होती है उसके लिए स्नोफॉल का होना बहुत जरूरी होता है। लेकिन जैसे जो शिफ्टिंग ऑफ सीजन्स हुआ है, या एक्सेसिवनेस एक्सट्रीम वेदर इवेंट्स जो देखने को मिल रहा है, उससे बागबानों को ज़्यादा नुकसान होने की संभावना भी बन रही है, क्योंकि अनटाइमली जो प्रिडिक्टेड जो बारिश है और स्नोफॉल है या हेल स्टॉर्म है, वो यहाँ पे होगा, और जिससे कि हमारी जो फसलें हैं या बागवानी के क्षेत्र में जो हमारे फ्रूट्स हैं, उस क्रॉप को जो है वो कैश क्रॉप्स को ज़्यादा नुकसान पहुंच सकता है इसके लिए। तो इसके लिए बागवानों को भी सचेत रहने के लिए बोला गया है कि आप इसके लिए जो है प्रॉपरली जो है वो एडिकेट जो भी प्रिकॉशनरी मेजर्स हैं वो उनको अपनाएं, ताकि उनकी फसलों को नुकसान ना हो, क्योंकि इस बार जैसे लानीना है तो इस बार में भी ये ज़्यादा लंबा चल सकता है, ज़्यादा बारिश इसमें हो सकती है, ज़्यादा स्नोफॉल हो सकती है, या फ्रॉस्ट पड़ सकती है। तो इससे जो है वो हमारे एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर और जो हॉर्टिकल्चर सेक्टर है उसमें भी ज़्यादा नुकसान जो है वो इकोनॉमिकली देखने को हो सकता है। तो उसके लिए उनको एज ए रेडी मोड पे जो है रहने के लिए बोला है, एज पे स्टैंड बाई पे रहने के लिए बोला हुआ है। दूसरा इसके अलावा मैम जो कोल्ड वेव है उससे जो इफेक्ट जो है वो लोगों के स्वास्थ्य के ऊपर भी पड़ता है, ज़्यादातर जो आम जन है। तो उसके लिए जो हमारे डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स के जो हेल्थ सर्विसेज होती हैं उनको एडिकेटली जो है वो पहले ही जो है वो ट्रेन करके एज ए अलर्ट मोड पे रखा हुआ है, ताकि उनके पास जो पर्याप्त जो दवाइयाँ हैं या जो उनके पास पर्याप्त रिसोर्सेज रहते हैं मेडिकल बैकग्राउंड से रिलेटेड, वो उनके पास पर्याप्त हों, ताकि जो भी लोग वहाँ पहुँचे हेल्थ ट्रीटमेंट के लिए उनको इमीडिएट जो हेल्थ प्रोवाइड की जा सके। इसके लिए हमारे पास 108 जो हमारी एम्बुलेंसेज होती हैं मैम, उनको भी सर्कुलेट रहने के निर्देश दिए हैं कि इमीडिएटली कोई इस तरह का केसेस अगर कोई मिल रहा है स्टेट में, तो उसको प्रॉपरली जो है डील किया जाए, और प्रॉपरली उसका जो है वो मेडिकल ट्रीटमेंट जो है केयर की जाए। इसके अलावा मैम जो हमारा सर्च एंड रेस्क्यू पार्ट रहता है, कि अगर बर्फबारी के कारण या किसी और वजह से जो है वो कहीं पे कोई रोड ब्लॉकेज हो रही है या कोई ट्रीज वगैरह गिर रहे हैं, तो जो हमारे कंसर्न डिपार्टमेंट है उनको ऑन द स्टैंड बाई मोड पे जो है वो रहने के निर्देश दिए हैं, ताकि जो रोड्स कनेक्टिविटी है या किसी तरह का टूरिस्ट भी बहुत ज़्यादा आता रहता है हिमाचल में, तो उनको किसी तरह का प्रॉब्लम ना रहे किसी भी एंड पे। तो उनको भी एज ए स्टैंड बाई मोड पे जो है वो एज ए प्रिपेयर्डनेस पार्ट के ऊपर रखा गया है इस आने वाले सीजन, विंटर सीजन के लिए। और हमारे जो दूर दराज के कुछ क्षेत्र होते हैं मैम, जैसे हिमाचल प्रदेश में कुछ एक ट्राइबल क्षेत्र भी हैं, तो ट्राइबल क्षेत्र में जो है वो बर्फबारी ज़्यादा होने की वजह से, ठंड ज़्यादा होने की वजह से जो है कनेक्शन जो है वो कट जाता है किसी कारणवश। तो वहाँ पे जो है हमारा किस तरह से मैनेजमेंट रहनी चाहिए, वहाँ के लोग जो हैं वो अगर 6-6 महीने जो है मेन स्ट्रीम से कट जाते हैं, तो उनके लिए पहले ही विंटर सीजन से आने पहले ही हमें वहाँ पे जो फूड फूड वगैरह और जो भी उनका गैस कनेक्शंस वगैरह, ये बहुत सारी चीज़ें जो है पहले से ही देनी पड़ती हैं, ताकि उस सीजन के दौरान उनको कोई दिक्कत ना रहे। खाने पीने की चीज़ें, मेडिकल ट्रीटमेंट्स, ये सारी चीज़ें वहाँ पे प्रोवाइड कर दी जाती हैं। इसके अलावा मैम प्रशासन जो है वो कोल्ड वेव के रिगार्डिंग, जैसे कि अगर नॉर्थ इंडिया की बात करें तो मैक्सिमम हिमाचल में तो उतने ज़्यादा जो डेथ केसेस हैं या इंजरीज के केसेस हैं वो कोल्ड वेव से अभी तक इतने ज़्यादा रिपोर्टेड नहीं हुए हैं। पीसफुल ही माहौल अभी यहाँ पे है स्टेट में, लेकिन आने वाले टाइम में जैसे वेदर इवेंट्स चेंज हो रहे हैं, क्लाइमेट चेंज हो रहा है, उससे में भी इम्पैक्ट जो है वो आने वाले समय में पड़ सकता है। और उसके लिए हमें प्रिपेयर्ड रहना पड़ेगा, और उसके लिए हालांकि प्रिपेयर्डनेस का काम चला भी है, उसके ऊपर वर्किंग हो रही है। लेकिन इसके अलावा जो हमारे लोअर रीजन्स रहते हैं, जो लोअर हमारे कुछ एक स्टेट्स हैं, जैसे हरियाणा है, उत्तर प्रदेश है, या उत्तराखंड के कुछ लोअर पार्ट्स हैं हमारे, वहाँ पे हमारा जो नॉर्थ इंडिया का ज़्यादा जो हमारी ठंड है, कोल्ड वेव है, वो ज़्यादा चलती है, और ज़्यादा जो डेथ केसेस हैं वो भी ज़्यादा रिपोर्टेड हो रहे हैं पिछले कुछ एक सालों से। तो आई थिंक जिस तरह से हमारा जितना अधिक पॉपुलेशन हमारा आने वाले समय में बढ़ रहा है, अभी हम जिस तरह से पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ में चल रहे हैं, उससे हमारी वनरेबिलिटी जो है वो ज़्यादा बढ़ जाती है किसी भी आपदाओं के लिए। और जैसे कोल्ड वेव है तो इससे भी हमारी जो वनरेबिलिटी है वो ज़्यादा बढ़ रही है। और हमारा जो जैसे हमारा कुछ एक वनरेबल सेक्शन होता है, जैसे छोटे बच्चे हैं या स्कूल गोइंग जो बच्चे रहते हैं, स्कूल जाते हैं, उनके लिए ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम रहती है इस सीजन के दौरान। तो उसके लिए जिला प्रशासन या जो भी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट से जो डायरेक्शंस मिलती हैं उसके अनुसार उनको प्रॉपरली टाइमली छुट्टी कर दी जाती है स्कूलों में। अगर उस तरह का, अगर हमें जैसे आईएमडी से जैसे डायरेक्शन मिलती है कि आने वाले टाइम पे किस तरह का वहाँ पे रेड अलर्ट या येलो अलर्ट रहने वाला है स्नोफॉल के रिगार्डिंग या कोल्ड के रिगार्डिंग, तो उनको ऑलरेडी इन द प्योर बेसिस पे ही उनको छुट्टी कर दी जाती है स्कूल में, ताकि बच्चों को किसी भी तरह का जो है वो नुकसान ना हो सके क्योंकि वो वनरेबल सेक्शन में आता है। इसके अलावा हमारे जो कामगार होते हैं, जो कुछ एक वर्किंग के लिए दूसरी स्टेट से आते हैं, जिला में राज्य में आते हैं काम करने के लिए, कुछ वर्कर्स होते हैं, उनके भी स्वास्थ्य का ध्यान रखा जाता है। उनका जो है वो हम काम करने के लिए एक तरह से एडवाइस करते हैं कि अगर ज़्यादा हार्श क्लाइमेट है, ज़्यादा ठंड पड़ रही है, ज़्यादा माइनस में डिग्री में जा रहा है टेम्परेचर, तो वो उस तरह का जो है वो हार्ड वर्क वाला काम वहाँ पे ना करें, क्योंकि ज़्यादा हार्ड वर्क करेंगे इस ठंड के अगर मौसम में, तो उनको हार्ट अटैक वगैरह उस तरह की प्रॉब्लम्स भी हो सकती हैं इससे। दूसरा होता है मैम कि जो हमारे हिली एरियाज हैं वहाँ पे जब कुछ एक सड़कों से जो स्नोफॉल या जो हमारे घरों के ऊपर जो स्नो होती है उसको जब साफ कर रहे होते हैं, तो उसमें ज़्यादातर लोग भीग जाते हैं बर्फ़ के कारण। तो उनको जो है वो फिर वो ज़्यादा ठंड लगने का, हाइपोथर्मिया होने का या डिहाइड्रेशन शरीर में होने की बहुत रिपोर्टिंग जो है वो होती है जिला में। तो उसके लिए क्या है कि हम उनको डायरेक्ट करते हैं कि आप प्रॉपर इक्विपमेंट्स पहन के ही उसको साफ करें, या ज़्यादा ठंड है तो उसमें वो अवॉइड करें इस तरह की चीज़ें, ताकि इस तरह का जो हमारा प्रॉब्लम रहती है या इंजरीज रहती हैं वो इस मौसम के दौरान ना हो पाए। ज़्यादातर लोगों को जो है वो अवॉइड किया जाता है कि आप अल्कोहल का यूज़ ना करें इस मौसम में, ज़्यादा ठंड में। ना ही इसके अलावा आप गर्म कपड़े पहने, इसके अलावा ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा पानी पिएं, अपने शरीर को हाइड्रेट रखें। तो ये सारी चीज़ें जो है वो एक एडवाइजरी के तौर पे मतलब हर सीजन में जो है वो जारी की जाती हैं। तो इस बार भी हमारी जो एडवाइजरी है वो रेडी मोड पे है, और उसको अब जल्द ही लॉन्च कर दिया जाएगा, जैसे विंटर सीजन अभी हमारा शुरू होने वाला है उससे पहले सर्कुलेट कर दिया जाता है ऑल द न्यूज़पेपर्स, टीवी, रेडियो, जो भी माध्यम है पहुंचाने के। और इसको पंचायत स्तर पे भी हम जो हमारे प्रधान रहते हैं या पब्लिक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स होते हैं उनके माध्यम से हम ज़्यादा पहुंचाने की कोशिश करते हैं, क्योंकि पीआरआईज जो होते हैं हमारे पब्लिक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव, उनकी बात जो है वो ज़्यादा, जो हमारी जनता होती है या ज़्यादा लोग होते हैं वो ज़्यादा सुनते हैं। तो उनके माध्यम से ही इसको पहुंचाने की कोशिश करते हैं, ताकि उस क्षेत्र में जो है वो शांति बने रहे, और किसी तरह का कोई प्रॉब्लम हो तो वो हमें बेझिझक कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं। जो हमारे टोल फ्री नंबर्स हैं उन पे भी कॉल कर सकते हैं। और किसी भी तरह की उनको उनको हेल्प है, कोई मेडिकल हेल्प है, कोई रेस्क्यू से रिलेटेड हेल्प है, या कोई साइको सोशल के रिगार्डिंग कोई हेल्प है, तो इमिडिएट कर सकें उन जो भी हमारे इफेक्टेड पीपल रहते हैं देश में। अभी इससे पहले तो दिन प्रतिदिन बढ़ रहा है, तो इसका ज़्यादा इम्पैक्ट हमें हिमाचल प्रदेश में देखने को मिल रहा है। हम सारे हम देख सकते हैं उसको, जैसे प्रीवियसली हमें heat wave यहाँ पे ज़्यादा देखने को मिली। इसके अलावा और भी बहुत सारी गतिविधियां हैं जिससे कि हम तरह जो हमारे डिजास्टर्स हैं उनको प्रमोट कर रहा है, जो है उनको ज़्यादा हिट कर रहा है वो। तो आई थिंक क्लाइमेट चेंज जो है एक बड़ा समस्या जो है आने वाले इसमें में हिली रीजन्स के लिए भी होने वाली है। और जितनी ज़्यादा क्लाइमेट चेंज से जो ज़्यादा क्लाइमेट चेंजेस के परिणाम हमें देखने को मिलेंगे, उससे ही हमें ज़्यादा जो डिजास्टर्स हैं वो भी हमें ज़्यादा देखने को जो है अपने रीजन में देखने को मिलेंगे आने वाले टाइम पे। तो हमें इसके लिए प्रिपेयर्ड रहना पड़ेगा। अब आने वाले समय में हम इससे किस तरह से मैनेजमेंट करेंगे, उसकी किस तरह से हमारे पास एडिक्वेट रिसोर्सेज होने चाहिए, और किस तरह का हमारा प्लान होना चाहिए, किस तरह का हमारा जो एक योजना होनी चाहिए प्रॉपरली, उसको धरातल स्तर से लेके ऊपर के स्तर तक हमें कैसे पहुंचाना है, इसके लिए प्रॉपर वे में जो है वो हमारे पास एक प्रॉपर प्लान होना चाहिए, और एक प्रॉपर जो रोड मैप है वो रेडी रहना चाहिए। क्योंकि आने वाले टाइम पे आई थिंक कि ये चीज़ें रहने वाली हैं आने वाले टाइम पे। क्लाइमेट चेंज से जो है वो ना केवल कोल्ड प्रिपेयर्डनेस, बट इसके अलावा और भी जो हमारी अदर सीजन्स रहते हैं उनमें भी ज़्यादा एक्सेसिव जो है वो डिवास्टेशन या ज़्यादा डेथ्स और इंजरीज देखने को मिल सकती हैं। तो मेरा ख्याल यही है कि कोल्ड वेव जो है वो इससे बचने के लिए एकमात्र यही है कि हम अपने आप को प्रिपेयर्ड रखें, अपने आप को अवेयर रखें, और जो हमारे कम्युनिकेशंस के साधन हैं उनसे भी हम प्रॉपरली जुड़ें। उनसे भी हम प्रॉपरली कम्युनिकेशंस के वे जो हैं, चाहे हमारे पास मोबाइल है, चाहे हमारे पास वेबसाइट्स हैं, या इस तरह की जो चीज़ें हैं, उन सब से भी हम प्रॉपरली जुड़े रहें, और तभी हम अपना अगला जो दिन का प्लान है वो उसके अनुसार कर पाएं, ताकि हम कोल्ड वेव के जो सीजन है इसको जो है वो प्रॉपरली एंजॉय कर सकें, ना कि इससे जो है हमें किसी तरह की आपदाओं के अनुरूप जो है वो ज़्यादा इंजरीज और इस तरह की प्रॉब्लम्स और डेथ देखने को मिले आने वाले समय में। तो आई थिंक मेरे ख्याल से तो मैम यही है कि एज पर द हमारे अपनी तरफ से तो प्रिपेयर्डनेस पूरी है, और हम चाह रहे हैं कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा पब्लिक भी इसके लिए प्रिपेयर्ड रहे और अवेयर रहे, और हमारा जो स्टेट है उसमें भी प्रॉपरली जो है वो किसी तरह का इस तरह की नुकसान, और चाहे वो इकोनॉमिक नुकसान है, चाहे किसी भी तरह का नुकसान है, इंजरीज है, लाइफ डेथ्स है, ये देखने को ना मिले भविष्य में। तो हम इसके लिए प्रतिबद्ध हैं और इसके लिए प्रॉपरली निरंतर काम कर रहे हैं। तो मेरी तो यही आशा है मैम कि हम इस क्षेत्र में जो है वो अभी काम कर रहे हैं, और हमारा एक्चुअली काम भी यही है, और हम चाहते हैं कि इसको प्रॉपर मैनेजमेंट हम कर पाएँ आने वाले समय में भी, और जैसे क्लाइमेट चेंज बढ़ रहा है इसको भी हम रिड्यूस कर पाएँ, और जिससे कि आपदाओं का जो ज़्यादा प्रभाव देखने को मिल रहा है कुछ एक क्षेत्र में, उसके ऊपर भी हम काम कर सकें, और उसकी जो आउटरीच है उसको कम कर सकें स्टेट में। सो ये मेरे पॉइंट ऑफ व्यूज थे मैम, एज ए इन द स्टेट ऑफ हिमाचल प्रदेश में जो चल रहा है अभी। इसके लिए आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मैम, आपने इनवाइट करा। थैंक यू सो मच मैम।
थैंक यू सो मच सर। इनफैक्ट आपको थैंक यू स्फेयर इंडिया को करना चाहें तो उन्होंने ही आपको इनवाइट किया इस चीज़ के लिए। आई एम रियली हैप्पी कि आपने इतना सारा काम किया है। एंड जब आई वाज रीडिंग योर बायो आई वाज रियली लाइक कि यू हैव डन सो मच। एंड अभी आप बता रहे हो कि कैसे कैसे प्रिकॉशंस है, क्या क्या चैलेंज हमें आने वाले हैं, और हमें किस तरह से आप यू हैव ऑलरेडी प्रिपेयर्ड कि अगर कोल्ड होता भी है तो हाउ वी कैन मैनेज, हम वहाँ किस जगह पे जा सकते हैं। I'm really so happy that you have done so much अभी से। In fact, we are still having 2-3 months and अभी के लिए we are already prepared. That's a good thing in disaster management। जब आप कि आपदा के आने से पहले ही आप तैयार होते हैं to face that disaster or that, to face that event। I guess that is हम यहाँ पे if we are successful है तो we can be successful in any part of this DM cycle। So thank you so much sir। अगर सर से किसी को कोई क्वेश्चन पूछना है तो पूछ सकते हैं प्लीज़। कोई क्वेश्चन अगर चैट बॉक्स में लिखना चाहता है वी कैन टेक अप दम एट द एंड। सो थैंक यू सो मच सर आपका यहाँ आने के लिए, अपना एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करने के लिए, और जो भी प्रिपरेशंस है उसके लिए थैंक यू सो मच। मूविंग फॉरवर्ड I'd like to invite Dr. Rohini ma'am for her lecture on cold wave health impact and response challenge. Before that, I'll just like to give a brief about ma'am. Ma'am is a healthcare professional with experience in strategic management, donor relation, and project oversight. Dr. Rohini is currently serving as Assistant Director of Donor Relation at Doctors for You and ACAT Fellow. She is dedicated to improving healthcare system through strategic planning and process optimization. Dr. Rohini diverse skill set includes grant writing, corporate social responsibility, and operational management. She has a master's in health administration. Welcome on board, ma'am. The stage is all
Thank you.
yours.
So I have a set of there you go. And so a lot of what I began with. First, thank you for inviting me for this. I think my compliments to Sphere. I really appreciate the fact that we have taken to heart the things we hear every season कि हम late respond करते हैं. So this is really timely, and I'm hoping that this conversation leads to an early response. And actually you can that we see the results of whatever comes out of this discussion. A lot of my initial slides, and again, presentation always helps because you realize how much you learn. Some simple thing, as in if somebody had asked me what a cold wave is, I would have said sure. But then when you start presenting, you kind of learn, oh, there's actually a definition. What's a cold wave? How does it differ in the hills versus the plains or the coastal regions? And if we can go to the next slide, you'll see that. And then also, what's the difference between a cold wave and a severe cold wave, so things like those. And so I'm going to skip over this because, previous speakers have covered it. If we can move on to the next slide. And again, we have covered most of this. So I'll focus on a couple of key things that we have seen. Usually, it's the northern states that are affected. A lot of states, Kerala, Goa, these guys don't see anything called a cold wave. Andaman, Nicobar, I think. But in the northern states, because of, somebody talked about El Nino, the western disturbances, and sometimes it's eastwards, you see a cold wave come down from the Himalayas and affect, our Delhi, Uttarakhand, Himachal, Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, Haryana, typically Bihar, UP, typically these states. In fact, Bihar and UP, when we look at mortality data, and I think that's the next, and here you see Arunachal, Goa, Kerala have never experienced a cold wave event or mortality. But if you look at the next slide, you'll see that Bihar and UP make up 75% of the mortalities that we see from cold waves every year. And, I want to address that. I have some data here, and I'll quickly talk about some things that surprised me. Men are more likely to be affected by cold waves than women. That was surprising to me. What was not surprising is that states that see recurrent cold waves have higher mortalities, and that explains Bihar and UP to some extent. 2015 had the highest number of cold-related deaths in India, and between 95 and 2020, we've seen 20,000 mortalities, slightly under 20,000 people who have died directly from cold wave. This is not, indirect effect of cold wave, so the number will probably be higher, but this is, directly attributable to the low temperatures. And then finally, this is a no-brainer. It's the effect is cross-sectoral. And this is important because we tend to respond in silos. And by we, I mean we as an organization are guilty of the same. And so, it affects agriculture, it affects your water supply, it affects transportation. Next slide, please. Now, you have short-term and long-term effects of cold waves. There's direct and indirect effects as well, and I'll talk about those. So direct effects would be, hypothermia, frostbite, heart issues, asthma attacks, things that are compounded or created, health issues that are compounded or created due to, the severe cold. Indirect health effects would include things because of bad roads, greater accidents and injuries that might happen, aggravation of pre-existing illnesses, and then, increased mortality for the vulnerable, which would include very small children, the aged, the chronically sick, or the immunocompromised. But then we have long-term consequences, right? You have residual effects of, your pulmonary diseases that you might, so compromised lung functions, compromised cardiovascular functioning. So that's one. The other is everybody's heard of SAD, seasonal affective disorder, so mental health. We tend to, gloomy days, dark days, staying indoors very long because of the bad weather can all be triggers for depression and other mental health issues. And then impaired mobility and functioning. So as an organization, what do? We try to address the short and long term. We're, as a healthcare organization, we try to address the short term by conducting health camps, screenings, creating awareness. And we can move on to the next slide, please. And then we've also tried to look at sheltering solutions, for, reducing the impact, because we realized that just giving blankets, food donations, all of these does not really, it's a stopgap, it's a band-aid. And so what can we do, as an organization in healthcare, what can we do? And again, a lot of what I'm talking about will also cross sectors, which, I will come to where, it's kind of no-brainer, that we must work across sectors together to create solutions that are more effective. Because we've done, DFI has been working in the cold wave response scenario for the last 4 years. We've responded in Uttarakhand, Himachal, Delhi, UP, Bihar. We're looking to respond, we're planning to respond in Punjab and Haryana this year as well. And what we've realized is a couple of things that we would like to see done differently. And I'll say this again, this call and this, bringing together of people who can talk about, the both from the policy perspective as well as the ground perspective as to what needs to be done and what's being done well is actually a really good first step. I'm also looking at Sphere to coordinate, the recommendations that come out of this call, and then also make sure that, the intersectoral coordination is done when the response takes place. But we'll come to that. And so I want to talk about, prevention and mitigation. So the identification and planning, which includes SOPs of interaction plans, creation and management and dissemination of early warning systems. Again, basic amenities, we try to do some of that, but a more comprehensive coordinated effort, whether it is clothing, medicines, whether it's shelter, whether it is food. And then, we talk about health sector specifically. And again, early surveillance, treatment protocols. And then obviously other sectors, agriculture, homeless, and the urban poor. Next slide, please. And here's where, I talked about what DFI has done. And give me just 1 second. Sorry. So, and what I've highlighted, I talked about where we've responded, and the recognized need for one is best practice and knowledge sharing. The two is the intersectoral coordination. We have been working in a very siloed and disjointed method. We are happy we can do something, but there is need to do it together and do it better. And I'll give you one example from DFI's. We were asked to create shelters. We saw this need, and we requested our CSR partners for support in creating shelters against cold waves. We created those. There were 2 things we saw that we would like to do differently. The first was, we started very late, which is why, again, very appreciative of this effort. And 2 was, we didn't have the know-how to, we did a good job, but we didn't have the know-how to do the best job, given the resources that we had. And so making sure we know, what is out there, having access to experts who can say, what, this would be the most effective, both cost effective as well as most efficient way to create these shelters, because they're temporary shelters. After the season is over, there's this question of what do you do with them, and we grappled with all of those, we dealt with all of those. But having those, and coming to that, my first point here is an SOP. I know that there's the guidelines from the NDMA, and we follow those. But having a clear SOP where all of these points are addressed and all of these, a moving document, a rolling document, that would be really helpful. And then finally, donor education on needs. And when the medical community is concerned, other than states that see, snowfall, such as Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh, the other states you see the medical community is not as aware about the symptoms, the signs of frostbite or hypothermia as you would wish. And so there's this lag in presentation and, treatment. I'll just move on because a lot of these we've talked about already. And so, things that we would like to see as far as, the government, the NGOs and the citizens coming together, because together we can really make sure mortality goes down to zero. I think there was 1 year, and I can't remember which year it was, where mortality was in the double digits, and that was the lowest we've ever seen. I think it was I want to say it was 2011 or 2021. I'm so bad with numbers. But other than that, 1,100 deaths directly attributable to a cold wave that only occurs in across like 2 months is a pretty high number. And so the government, again, winter action plans, early warning systems, ensuring coordination. I mean, they cannot give food to everyone or ensure that everyone gets clothing, but ensuring that there is coordination at their level. And then night shelters. The previous speaker spoke about Himachal's efforts, and I feel we would like to do that in all of the other states as well. Maybe learn from them. Also, where he talked about technology and using technology, not just for prevention, mitigation, but early warning for coordination. COVID was a great example when people came together and ensured that wherever the gaps were, they were being filled. And so that's where the citizen role comes in. But NGO, cold wave awareness, assistant resource distributions, collaborate with local authorities to provide medical, organized training sessions. We all do these, but again, I'd like to see it less siloed, cutting across sectors. We do healthcare, somebody else does, making sure crops are safe. Somebody else makes sure animals are safe. Somebody else, the DDM is or the NDM is making sure the roads are safe. And so making sure all of this comes together to ensure that everyone is healthy and safe. And then citizens, donations of clothing, shelter, fuel, making sure that playing their part in keeping the family members safe, the elderly or the young, making sure that they're informed. And then obviously community action, extending beyond their households into their communities to make sure everybody is protected. And then and the next slide talks about, if we can move on to the next slide, the impact of preparing versus when we intervene, and versus not preparing. And so the left side is a no-brainer. There's increased mortality, strain on the healthcare system, economic losses, and social disruption. Whereas when we intervene. So the takeaways from my presentation literally are, we should work together. 1, 2, I'm happy that we started early. And 3, that I hope, we don't lose the momentum and that the learnings from this presentation are taken together. Sphere is well positioned to act as a nodal and make sure that, all the agencies work together to actually bring across the changes and the interventions that are required. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for the presentation and sharing how the impacts of cold waves and the responses and challenges and coordination between the healthcare professional providers and disaster response. If we are having any questions for the ma'am, you can just ask in the chat box. I guess if meanwhile somebody asks us a question, I'd like to introduce our next speaker. That's Dr. Mukta Girdhar. And Dr. Mukta has more than 25 years of experience in imparting education in the field of disaster management and GIS. She holds a doctorate in earth science, specializing in geochemistry from the University of Delhi, and is founder of director of Disaster Resilience Foundation. She has worked for the more than 17 years as an assistant professor in the Center of Excellence in Disaster Management Studies (CDMS) at GGS IPU, coordinating the MBA Disaster Management, and at the Indian Red Cross Society, coordinating the Diploma in Disaster Preparedness and Rehabilitation. She was recently awarded the Women Empowerment Leadership Award for her contribution in the field of disaster management. Along with disaster management, she also specialized in geographic information system and remote sensing and drone data analysis, and is the chief editor of quarterly magazine Resilience. She has worked as visiting faculty for disaster management and GS remote sensing with Indira Gandhi Delhi Technological University Delhi, Tata Energy Research Institute Mumbai, DDMA Delhi, NIDM Delhi, and MIT University. She has also been a proficient mentor and has guided 50 dissertation topics and presented 45 plus research papers in peer-reviewed journals, and has 3 books published to her credit, namely Basics of Drone and its Applications, National Disasters and Training and Capacity Building of ULB in Efficient Text Management and Computerized Environment. I welcome you, ma'am. The full floor is all yours.
Thank you so much for such a elaborate and wonderful introduction. And I'm really, really thankful to Sphere India and all of you who have invited me for this. Presently, I'm working with DDM as a senior consultant, and we have prepared a draft. It is not yet finalized, but what contents we have included in that, which I would like to share. And if there is any comment or any good suggestion, we'll be happy to incorporate that. As you know that you have given me 4 points where I have to talk about role of state and local government, strengthening public-private partnership, best practices for cold web management, community resilience, strengthening early warning system. So these 5 points where I have to discuss my present, I have to elaborate my talk. But before that, just I wanted to say that we have prepared a cold wave plan where we have prepared a 7 chapters, which is based on the NDMA guidelines. And there, the first chapter where we have included introduction, which includes aim and goals and strategy, all those things. Second chapter includes details about Delhi. There is location, geographic setting, physiography, best practices about Delhi. The third one is the early warning and communication, where we received information from in a Indian Meteorological Department, and based on this information, we need to disseminate this information to the district, and district people, they disseminate this information to their stakeholders and all those things. So I am in a headquarter, so I can discuss with you about the role and responsibility of state headquarter. Here, the moment I received information, as you know, there is 3 colors, green, orange, and red. So, being we are representing a disaster management authority, so we cannot disseminate any warning till it becomes a disaster. So in Delhi, there are 2 types of plan has been prepared by the government. One is winter action plan. And this winter action plan, it has been prepared by Environment Department, and it is already launched by our state government environment minister, Mr. Gopal Rai. It is a 21 point, and all the departments, they are following it, and they are working based on their instructions and the directions. There they have prepared in that winter action plan, the responsibility of DDMA, that we have to be ready with our heat action plan and cold wave action plan. So it is in a draft mode. And there is so many points where I'm not going to discuss all those things, because I am responsible for the cold wave action plan. And the cold wave, when there is extreme heat, or you can say, as per the definition of IMD, when the temperature is less than 4 degrees centigrade. So these are minimum, maybe there is 7, 8, or maybe 9 days where we need to extremely take care of the people who belongs to Delhi, and we have to prepare accordingly wherever who are the vulnerable people, vulnerable areas, and target peoples. Basically, you cannot, when I go through, I came to the conclusion that we cannot divide that this particular area is highly vulnerable if you talk about the in terms of population, because when you go through, you will come to know the people who are vulnerable, they are mostly children's, maybe older people, or people who are anemic, and these people, they are present everywhere. Apart from that, if you include the industries who are creating more pollution, that area may be impacted a lot. So for that, the different departments, they are taking action. So coming back to the early warning and communication, so the moment it has a red indication, that is the time we need to disseminate the information. And for that, our State Emergency Operations Center, it is fully equipped. We have one State Emergency Operations Center along with 11 Emergency Operations Center. So the 11, they are in the 11 districts, and the one is in headquarters. So whenever we receive the headquarter, we immediately send this information to state, and from state to it goes to districts. And along with, we have a group of emergency support functionary. They are maybe a number of 16 or 70, which includes all MCD and DMC, fire, PWD, all people, they get the information immediately. The Emergency Operations Center, it is already equipped with the ERSS, which is known as Emergency Response Support System, and the number is 112. It's so equipped and so, you can say, the technologically advanced. The moment we receive that some incident, some information, or some person who is affected by the cold wave, we just got the information, it automatically reflect on the screen, and without saying anything, we can have all the details about that. Where is the location? Where is the exact support functionaries are lying behind that? And in a single click, we can send the message to all the support functionary. These are the people, these are the person who need the support. And we can support them, whatever they support the person is needed, maybe provide them rescue, maybe provide them hospital treatment, maybe the person needed a shelter. So the other, this is the first one, which is known as ERSS, and the full form is Emergency Response Support Function, Support System. It has three categories. One category is police department, other one is fire, and third one is the disaster. And police department, they decide whether which call they need to forward to which department, whether it has to forward to fire or it has to forward to disaster. The other facility we have, that is known as CAP. CAP full form is Common Alert Protocol. So you might have heard about this. Yeah, you all must have experience when there is heavy rain or when there is a flood situation. In the last year, you might have received message in your phone that there is heavy rain, you need to take precaution. Yeah, this area is getting flooded, you have to come out. And we have frequently used this facility when last year Delhi was flooded. And it's again very dynamic because we don't need a mobile number for the community. A person who is present in that affected area, the message will go. And it is a all India level initiative, and NDMA people, it is an initiative by NDMA, and it is applicable to all over India. They have done a tie-up with all the stakeholders, whether it is a Airtel, Vodafone, Reliance, and everything. So we need to just select the stakeholders, and message goes to those people who are present at the time of disaster in the affected area. So again, I can say that our state emergency operation system is highly equipped. Even then, we are trying to make it more dynamic and more effective. So that is all about the communication system. We have again 54 satellite phones, which we have distributed to all the district magistrates and the dignitaries who are responsible to bring the resilience in Delhi. And in case if any communication, all communication fail, I think satellite phone will work. As you all know, that we are prone to earthquake and we are prone to all kind of disaster. So in case of cold wave, we can also use this satellite phone. Then there is in the next chapter, that is cold wave mitigation and preparedness, where we have included hospital preparedness measures for managing cold wave related illness. And then in the chapter 5, we have included documentation and reporting format. There is a very good detailed reporting format where it has been we will distribute this to a district, and district will integrate all the information which has been people who have been affected by the cold wave, where they are living, what are the reason, why it has been happened. Everything is incorporated into the format. And I believe for this cold wave, maybe we are having a good data in hand to for the analysis and for the very good plan. So in the next, there is 3 type of format, which is one is included a district report to state, and the second format which includes the state level and sent to the central government, and then communicated to all the concerned department. Then in the next chapter, role and responsibility of implementation plan, where we have included a role of state government, role of district, role of different departments. And here we have included SOP also for the urban local bodies, health and family welfare, animal husbandry, where how they can look for their animal livestock, how they can protect them, how they can arrange their food, how the people they have done the medical facilities, medicine should be available in the advances, everything is there. Apart from that, we have also included winter action plan of MCD, winter action plan of DUCIB area, and NDMC area. So if you talk about the DUCIB, which the full form is Delhi Urban Shelter you see something like that, with the this department is responsible to provide the shelter. So they are mainly responsible people who are living in outside to provide them shelter. And if you there we have included a shelter wise number of people, a number of the officers who are responsible to manage that area. So just for the information, in the DUCIB, we have total near about 16,964 shelter houses available all across the Delhi, which includes 82 RCC buildings. It has a capacity of 9,586. Then the Puta cabin, 103, and the capacity is 6,280. Temporary building 3, which has a capacity of 290. And special drive where they again they erect temporary shelters and temporary all those things, which is number of 10, and it has a capacity of 808. So that is all about the DUCIP. For the MCD, they are responsible to clean the area so that there should not be more pollution, more dust, dewatering the trees and everything. The pollution should be get down. Apart from this, there is some initiative so that we can control the paralysis. That is again a part of 21 point winter action plan. We have not included those things, but again, because we are more responsible and it is a disaster oriented things. We have a good tie-up with all the emergency support functionary. Along with, we have a tie-up with the army, NDRF, and the people who are again really help us. We have 1,800 Abda Mitra volunteers. They are ready to come forward to support in case of any emergency. So I think most of the things which has been already discussed by my colleague from the Himachal, who is also from the District Management Authority. So I don't want to repeat those things, but these things I think I need to incorporate. So with this, I would like to conclude. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. And I guess I am seeing how Delhi is buckling off the harsh winter that's upcoming. So I'm really thankful for your session. Now, the last session of the day is by Miss Komal Priya Singh. So since we are already out of time, I'll just request Dr. Komal, if we can just like I'm not just giving you very much less time, but as much as like some of time. And before that, let me introduce
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, we lost the connection or something. So thank you so much for having me, and I would like to thank CODIUM coordinator, Professor Amita Dhiman ma'am, for giving me this opportunity, and of course to Spare India for having me here. Since Fatima also said that most of the topics have been covered already, and I don't have I don't want to take much of your time, but let's just focus on the highlights of today's because that was that is something which I really want to focus on. Like let me just have my presentation. Yeah, since we all know what is cold wave, a prolonged period of excessively cold weather, and it actually impacts the vulnerable community, and it impacts their health risk, infrastructure damage, and economic consequences are there. Especially it impacts old age and homeless people. So when we talk about community resilience, since I'm working in Bihar for last 2 years, I have seen how it has been in the state. So focusing on the resilience, it can only come up when when we actually work on preparedness, adaptation, mitigation, recovery, and capacity building. Rohini ma'am and Mukta Girdhar ma'am and Rajat, they all focused on on these parameters actually. So it was actually very nice to see them, like their focus, and how other states are also working on it. But I would say that community resilience would only come when we engage, local government, or the community, because they have actually, they can do a lot of it. Not like they don't have to be the victim, but they can actually come up and support the government, and in all the initiative that they are taking. So in recent flood experience which I had, which we are still facing in our state, we saw that all the district administration, they all were busy in the operation and everything. But one thing that came up was that how the involvement, communities involvement, actually helped them in actually in operating all the in operating all the SOPs, and completing all the formalities or whatever the initiatives that they were taking. It was very easy for them to establish their actions, or whatever they were doing. It was just easy with the help of local involvement. So when you talk about whole way, the establishment of shelters, or community kitchens, or maybe whatever it is, whatever initiative has been done, it is very important to actually look at the people's perspective as well. In Bihar, we give them money to for the bonfire and everything. Besides having the early warning system in the state, we actually we are also focusing on research and other parameters. Like in recent years, Bihar Mausam Seva Kendra has established automated rain gauge and automatic weather station, which has been very helpful for us, because it provides us gram panchayat level and block level data. So we get, we have IMD data as well, but BMFK data has been very helpful for us. Now, focusing on the early warning system, as I told you, we also make videos and disseminate amongst the public, so that they, they get to know about it. It has been really very helpful for all of us. Now, in collaboration with social welfare department, what we do is we distribute blanket, and as we told that Mukta Girdhar ma'am also told that in Delhi, shelter is being every year during winters. I don't have the number with me, but in Bihar also we with the help of social welfare department we establish such centers. Now, role of local government is very important in coordination and response, along with the support of local, the community. Now, I'll just focus on the highlights, like the importance of training programs. In Bihar, we conduct such training programs with the help of Bihar State Disaster Management Authority. So, how what to tell people what to do before cold wave, during and after cold wave. We know that old age people are actually very vulnerable during these during those 2-3 months, the children. And then community network, they should have their network of their own, so that they when they're getting some data from the department or some agency, they should be able to disseminate among themselves, because we know this is an established fact that vulnerable actually में कौन है जो poor है, maybe they don't have the access, so but the kind of network which they have, it becomes very easy for them to act accordingly. Now, multi-stakeholder approach, that was also being said by Rohini ma'am, which I think it is very important. It is not possible for to work in silos. So mostly the cold wave is just for like 2-3 months, and उसी दौरान ही उसके लिए काम होता है, but then most of the times we don't pay much attention to it, but उससे भी बहुत casualty होता है, and especially for a state like बिहार, जहाँ पे मतलब हर साल ही होते हैं, और स्कूल में जो बच्चे हैं उनके लिए स्कूल बंद कर दी जाती हैं, बीट कोल्ड वेव और हीट वेव. So multi-stakeholder approach is very important, and now innovation and partnership, we need to come up with more institutions and organizations. And I'm very thankful to Spare, like they are coordinating, and they have conducted this workshop on time. So that's all from my side, and if you have any queries or any suggestions, you can just let me know. That's all from my end.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing the experience. And in fact, I have read also, and I have seen the different scenarios how Bihar is facing multi disasters. So I'm really thankful for you, and in fact, I really want a second. Uh, like this will be not just a one workshop that was fair will be having. I just want there should be another session on the same. So thank you so much, and I don't think there are any questions for you now, and if there are any questions, we'll let you know. So, coming to the concluding of this webinar, I thank you all the esteemed panelists and participants for your valuable contribution to today's workshop. Your insights and experience have greatly enriched the discussions. We are deeply appreciated the time and efforts you have invested in this important dialogue. Together, we are taking vital steps towards enhancing resilience and preparedness for cold wave events across the country. I thank each and every one of whether it be a participants, the organizing committee, the team, the ID who is being conducting this, and who is responsible for doing like links, and who has made the concept note, from concept note to agenda to the flyer. I thank each and everyone for it. I want to hand over the mic to the Altamash for to if they can end the session now.
Thank you. Bye.
Development.
Hi, thank you everyone. Thank you, Fatima, and thank you for all the support and especially the moderation. And thank you all the speakers, Dr. Rohini, Professor Anil Gupta, Komal, Rajan sir, and everyone who joined, Dr. Mukta. So for sharing this important and insightful informations and your experiences. So we hope that we'll definitely come up with another session, maybe in November, the end of November, we will let you know. So for now, we will end this session. And once again, thank you to the team also, Good Simran and Vishnu, for conducting and preparing all this background works behind this session. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.